All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us
Today.
today. My name is Kate Hartaleza, your moderator. And on behalf of our presenters, Netrust and Entrust, I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar, um, Passwordless Authentication and Cloud-Based Identity. And today's topic is about delivering actionable outcomes through attack surface insights, threat fingerprinting, and real-world machine learning. All right, so I can see a few more attendees coming in. And while everybody is settling down and while waiting for more to join us, I would like to go over some gentle reminders. All right, so before anything else, I would just like to let you know that today's webinar is scheduled to last 1 hour, including Q&A. So all participants are muted throughout the webinar to enable the speakers to present without interruption. And anytime if you have any questions during the presentations, you may submit via the Q&A function on your Zoom webinar screen. And this session is being recorded and will be sent to registered attendees afterwards along with the presentation slides. And of course, you can also find the on-demand webinar video on our Netrust YouTube channel. And for today's agenda, we will present the situation and challenges faced by IT in the identity and access management. And we will also provide you with a high-level overview on Entrust Identity Management multi-factor authentication portfolio. And of course, we will also cover some common use cases on where we can apply Entrust Identity Management in today's landscape. And lastly, we will provide you with a live demo on Entrust platform. All right, so with this, we are really encouraging everybody to actively participate and stay tuned until the end of today's session. Why? Because later we will be launching a poll, and the first attendees who will answer the poll questions will each receive a $5 voucher from Grab Food. So that's right, note of that. $5 voucher from Grab Food. That's like a thank you gesture for joining today's session. And additionally, we will also share with you a download link for a 30-day free trial on Entrust IDaaS, so Entrust Identity and Access Management Platform. All right, so now it's my pleasure to introduce you to our panel of speakers. So joining us today, leading and contributing the discussion is Edwin Lee. So Edwin is currently the head of sales at Netrust. He started working as a system engineer and was promoted to head of service delivery, where he had led various projects for the company. Today, he is responsible for the regional engagements of identity related projects and is actively promoting the adoption of digital identities in the healthcare, financial, and government sectors. All right, joining Edwin, of course, is Lawrence Tan. So, Lawrence is the technical sales consulting manager for APAC and Japan at Entrust. So Lawrence has more than 20 years of experience in the telecom, financial, and enterprise security industry. His roles span from marketing, pre-sales, project management for professional services, and having based out of China and Hong Kong for 7 years, and now in Singapore, covering APAC and Entrust, he has gained wide regional experience in the digital and security industry. And now for the main event. Yes, I will now turn the time over to Edwin as he will introduce Netrust and then he will hand over the main presentation to Lawrence. Gentlemen, over to you, please. All right, Edwin, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute.
It's okay. All right, go ahead, Edwin. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Kate. And just before I hand over to Lawrence, allow me a few minutes just to introduce Netrust. Now, a lot of people know us as a CA and PKI house, and that's true. We are Asia's first public CA and the only Singapore's IMD accredited certificate authority that provides not only certificates to not only people, but organizations as well as devices to allow them to securely transact online. Netrust is over 20 years old, and we are focused really on cybersecurity. The CA and PKI side of the business parks under our crypto and identity security tower, right? Over the years, Netrust has already evolved to provide not only that side of the business. So allow me to share, to name a few. we provide not only vulnerability management tools, but also endpoint protection to your source code scanning tools. And if you need cybersecurity training for your staff, or even if you need managed security solutions for your CA, or even for targeted products and solutions, today, Netrust will be able to provide you with that, right? These are just some of the references that we have in Singapore. If you are a SingPass user, if you're an e-passport user, if you use or you visit websites, you visit government websites, you visit banking websites, chances are you will already be using some parts of Netrust solutions. And Netrust and Entrust have over 20 years of partnership. That's more than my personal working experience, right? And we are the exclusive reseller in Singapore, as well as a regional distributor for Entrust. Netrust is not a big company. We are less than 50 people, but we have over 50% of the people or staff who are trained technically, including myself. And most, if not all of us, have experience working with Entrust solutions. That's why we are so tightly integrated. Now, with this tight integration and deep experience that we share with Entrust, we share the same goal of providing a comprehensive security solution to cater to your needs. With this, I'll hand over to Lawrence. Lawrence, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Edwin. Just want to check whether you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your precious time. I know it's afternoon, so I hope that this topic that I'm going to share today will be meaningful for you and also informative, so that we can start to think about how we can really face all the digital security threats and all the attacks that have been prevalent, yeah, in this COVID period. Let me just introduce about my company. So Entrust, we have two broad segments. One is the physical security portfolio. Over here, where you have access control systems, financial card issuance system, and instant issuance. That's the physical financial security solution that actually has been be widely used. Majority of the world financial cards, they actually use this solution. On the right side, you can see there's a whole suite of a digital security portfolio. There are data at rest product like HSM. You have public key infrastructure, IoT, digital certificate and signing. That is to protect data that is in motion. When there's a transaction, there's a server-to-server interaction and authentication required. So you need to have a very a zero trust framework, yeah, to make sure that every component will authenticate to one another. And then the last part is identity and access management that will protect data access. So that's very important, especially when there's so many data that is being stolen and data breach. Identity and access management is something that is very important for an organization, which I will expand in the subsequent part of this webinar. Okay, so as you can see, I think COVID-19 has already like past 1 year, but you can see that it's a turning point in transforming all the way we do business, especially accelerating the digital transformation. And during the past 1 year plus, you can see a lot of acceleration in terms of the way the applications is deployed. So there are more cloud services that's at work. And I think from a survey according to McAfee, an average employee uses 36 cloud services at work. And you can imagine how to access these cloud services securely, right? It's not an easy task. So most of the applications, they are using password traditionally. And now the passwords are quite easy to compromise. So we have to step up the way we access the cloud services as well. And you can also see the advance of IoT, especially in medical field, where a lot of medical healthcare equipment already uses like surgical robot. And then even simple devices like the mobile device, they are already providing the banks, financial institution, organization useful customer behavior data that allow them to know what the customer needs and able to target to them. And mobility is another big thing because of the BYOD. So work from home or remote workforce is now very common, and employees now have to use their own device, especially the mobile, to access to the company information. And there's also a need to protect the company data if, let's say, the mobile phone is lost. So that also impose some threat to the organization as well. And then the last part, we see the trend is the artificial intelligence, because I think data is the king right now. I mean, as long as you have customer data, you are able to bring some meaningful interpretation after the data processing, and speed and skill and convenience is the key right now. So in the view of all these trend, but we can see there are some security challenges, lack of visibility of the certificate. For example, how there are so many visible and unmanaged certificates that's deployed in the DevOps environment or in the IoT environment. And we can see in the recent, I think past year, a lot of some even online services like Spotify, they were down last year because the certificate was expired. So there's a apparent gap in the way the certificates are managed. So server certificates are also not very common, as long as you want to offer a web service to the end customers. They need to log into your website to perform transactions. So they need to identify that this website is authentic and owned by the bank, for example. So that's a very important aspect of how you can ensure that the certificates are always valid and always can be trusted. So expanded access the attack is now very common because of the new, like even the non-personal device is now used, right, for the website and the company resource access. So that's definitely one area to look at. And with the threat landscape that's intensifying because of the cloud and the on-prem environment. So a lot of security, traditional security methods needs to be upgraded. And then you can see the IT security shortage in terms of the skills to manage the PKI or to manage the zero trust framework infrastructure. I think this is also something that our organization find that is lacking in terms of how to maintain the secure infrastructure. So that's why you can also see there's some managed services like even managed certificate PKI services or identity as a service are now like very common. And compliance is now imposed by government, by the various industry, to make sure that the data privacy is protected as well. And so I think these are some of the security challenges that we need to address in the current landscape. And let us delve more in depth on how we see as a way to secure the digital world. The traditional method, right, of securing data is using the username and password. So with data breaches, there is actually the password is no longer secure, as can be most of the data that is leaked out. They can be easily bought from the dark web easily, right? And then most of the time the users will use the same password for different website. So it's very easy to break into the password. And then to prevent that, there comes the multi-factor authentication. So that's added on top of the username and password as an additional layer of verifying an identity. It's based on something you have, like a token or the phone, or something you know, like a PIN, or something that you are, like your biometrics, your fingerprint. And the next level of enhancing the authentication is, I would say, is the machine learning technique. There's adaptive authentication. So the idea is that once you enroll your device to access the protected resource, so the device information is captured. So that the next time you change your device or your phone, for example, the system in the backend will be able to know that, okay, this is a new device, and you will add additional level of authentication. So the identity of the user device and the user is now very key. And in the background, they can actually track where the user log in into the system. Is it midnight or during the normal working hour? And then based on the login, even the location. For example, you can log in one day in Singapore, but the next time, maybe 2 hours later, somebody try to log in from UK. So you know there's something wrong. So the system will be able to do a background risk assessment, to decide whether to block the access or to step up the authentication. So the next level is the authorization and access management. So you can see that this whole way to identify and to authenticate the identity is part of the Entrust Identity portfolio. That's an IAM solution, and it ensures that there's a strong authentication for remote access, supports multi-factor authentication, and even transaction notification can be used, right, to make sure that the user who performed the transaction is the real person that's behind the device. And the highest level of assurance that I would like to share with you is the credential-based identity, and that's based on the PKI, because it offers even in the financial industry, in the US NIST, recognize that the use of X.509 cert actually is a requirement to ensure the high assurance. High assurance means that all the transaction can be legally binding, and there's a non-repudiation aspect. So especially for high value transaction, like corporate banking or anything that's related to healthcare or financial transaction, that's very important to track. So I think this requires a high level of assurance, and so that includes document signing, or it can be an email encryption. So these are the PKI aspect, which is part of the whole identity and the access management system. So I think what I'd like to share today is because these two are very intertwined. So Entrust and Netrust actually is able to offer both solutions on a single platform to ensure that there's a choice of a level of assurance of identity and access management mechanism. Just now I mentioned about the use of digital cert is very common now. Actually, based on research company Ponemon Institute, which actually Entrust sponsored last year. We did a study on the global PKI and IoT trends. So we noted the rise of digital certificates. The increase is, for the cloud has gone up by 27%, and then the use of a digital certificate for enterprise authentication has also gone up by 19%. So you can, and overall the whole market has really increased by 47%. So the number of digital certificates that are used to secure all the things, or can be people, can be things, or can be systems. They have already increased significantly because of IoT, because of like even the 4G network, 5G network, they need to use a certificate to ensure that the security gateway and the base stations, they can only all the data of communication are secure. So these are the trend that we see in the use of the certificate, which is actually part of the whole IAM solution as well. So from our perspective, right, the trusted identity platform, it will involve 3 different aspects to ensure that the digital assets are secure. The first one is establish the trust. So that is very relevant when we have a new user who want to access the system. He needs to apply to enroll the person into the system for authentication, right? So that can be done through mobile ID proving. That's a self-service way to take the own picture and then scan the physical identity card, and then the backend system will do the matching of the image and then do a background check before enrollment can take place. Then you will also keep track of the device reputation to make sure that the device that's used to enroll into the system is not blacklisted in the global website that contains all the crime syndicate information, right? So that's a part of the established trust, so that you can trust the user, trust the device, and provision a credential. So after the enrollment is completed, then the user can start the transaction, can securely access a protected resource or perform transaction of like fund transfer. And so that will require multi-factor authentication, as a very first step, right, to make sure that the person is who he claims he is. And then there's also digital signing is required if there's a high assurance that's required. And then there's a single sign-on that is remove the need to have multiple login if the system actually is they are actually compliant with single sign-on standards. So other than that, I think most of the systems stop here. But I think Entrust and Netrust, we think that quite important to establish is to maintain trust, because we need to continuously monitor the user behavior through the device, the login time, or the user behavior from the way the time and the place that he log in, and also continuous authentication. So that is the ongoing life cycle that is very important to maintain the trust, which is very important for the total and reliable IAM solution. I will share with you what are the challenges faced by most of the IT in the IAM solution and maintaining it. So the first challenge that we see, right, is that there's no unified multi-factor and IAM strategy in the organization. Because it's very common to see a bundled multi-factor authentication solution either tied to the cloud application like Office 365, for example, or like some VPN vendor, they also bundle a free 2FA. And I think some of them are deployed even without the IT review or authorization. And when the system, the multi-factor authentication is down, so that's the support level agreement is different, because sometimes it's free, so the SLA will not be very prompt and reliable. So one example that I can give, for example, is the last year when the Microsoft outage highlights the there's a Microsoft outage where all the Outlook email services, Office 365, Teams, collaboration suite experienced a prolonged outage and lasting up to 6 hours in some cases. So I think Microsoft cited authentication issue on configuration change in the backend. But I think from Gartner study, we found that actually there's a cost related to system downtime, especially it has an impact on the lost productivity. So that's a huge cost that the user has to bear. So in order to ease the IT management with a reliable service, I think now it's time to consider a single IAM solution that supports a wide range of authenticators, use case, and enhanced authentication. Why is it so? Because when you ask my IT friends, right, what wakes them up at night? I think most of them will reply that the system down is actually what they really fear, and that actually keep them waking up. So we need to have a very strong and unified IAM solution provider and able to support all the single use case so that you can only maintain one system and ensure high level of reliability, and to make sure that there's a BCP that's arranged if the system is down. So you need to consolidate into one single IAM solution. The next aspect is the password. So you can see from this news extract, actually it was in Singapore in February. So what is the most popular password? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then the number 2 password that is the most popular is just 3 characters longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's quite scary, right? Because a lot of people are still using a very commonly used password. So ironically, actually last Thursday was a World Password Day. So I'm not sure you all heard about World Password Day. So it's designated on every first Thursday of May. So for this case, the May 6th last week. The purpose of World Password Day is to address the critical need of solid password. So the World Password Day promotes better password habits because passwords are critical gatekeeper for digital identities traditionally. Right? So you can see that at least 65% of people will use their password on multiple websites. 88% of data breaches in APAC involve the use of stolen credentials. So I think it's time to rethink the use of password. Yeah, because now password becomes actually very, very easy to crack. And that's why I find that the challenges for the IT in the IAM is the burden of a password. Okay, because first the IT help desk needs to perform password recovery and change because people forget password. Secondly, the password reuse actually poses a high risk. So a lot of breaches, hacking related breaches are caused by compromised password. And then, so you need to consider that there's a need to support a higher assurance authentication, and then need to consider a passwordless technology when warranted. So that's now I think everyone is talking about going passwordless. That I will cover later because there are many ways to implement passwordless solution. So why passwordless? I think, as I mentioned earlier, it reduced productivity, is no longer strong in security, it has a poor user experience because you have to remember so many passwords. You have to change every 60, 90 days according to like PCI requirement or the compliance requirement. It has high cost because IT had to manage password related issues, and then the whole industry is moving towards passwordless. So from FIDO Alliance for Passwordless Authentication, so by every next year, 60% of large and 90% of mid-sized enterprise will implement passwordless in 50% of the use case. That's a huge jump, right, in terms of deployment of this type of passwordless technology. And then from the user point of view, I think, yeah, that from the survey that 60% of individuals are willing to pay more for passwordless technology. So you can see the demand and the supply side, actually there's quite in sync. So that's why I think passwordless is a very important authentication method that you should consider. So next I will just provide a brief of what Entrust Identity can offer. So Entrust Identity is you have a different type of deployment method. It can be based on cloud, so that's an identity as a service. It can be based on on-prem or identity enterprise that's used for high assurance, like it can also be used for passwordless or for those financial institutions, similar to what cloud can offer. And then identity essentials is a window-based VPN or remote access protection. So that's a very single, very restricted use case, but it's very basic requirement for some enterprise who wants to jump into the multi-factor authentication. So I will probably focus more on the identity as a services, because it offers a high assurance credential-based authentication. It supports a single sign-on. That is also a very useful way to remove the friction, remove the passwordless. So whatever feature that actually I explained in the for this identity as a service, it can also be applicable to identity enterprise, which is the on-premise version. So I think first important factor to look at is the number of the range of authenticators. So authenticators means that how do you prove that the user is who he is? So it's either by what he has, what he knows, or what he is, right? So for this case, authenticator is a device that what he has or know. So it can be as simple as a Greek card for non-IT savvy generation, or it can be a mobile-based authenticator. So even for mobile-based authenticator, you can make use of high assurance PKI, credential-based authentication, for very high value transaction. So you have two methods. First one method is either you have a PKI or smart card token that's held by the user when he want to access into the system, or the phone can behave as a virtual smart card. So it's as good as the phone itself have a credential that belongs to the user, and then is protected through a PIN or biometric in order to access the system. And another aspect is the adaptive authentication. Because continuous authentication is very important to make sure that the user is always tracked to make sure that the user's information is updated. So there's a part of the data analytics based on the different factor and data that's captured from the user device or from the way the user behaves. So it can be a device reputation based on the past history, whether the device is stolen or not, or it can be based on the location where user log in, or device fingerprint, whether the device has been changed, or if the device has been jailbroken, then this device is considered insecure. Then our system can also block this device access. So based on these factors, we will go through our risk-based policy engine to compute the risk level. And based on the risk level, it will either block the access, challenge, or allow the access. So that's intelligent authentication using different type of authenticator. So let me show you, for example, some screenshot of like what identity as a service allows the administrator to do. You can have a different risk factors like the time of login, geolocation, travel velocity. Travel velocity is it measures the time between the person logged in from location A to location B, for example. So it can actually adjust the weightage of each factor to compute the risk level. So that's the risk weightage. And then if you can categorize into different type of risk, low risk, medium risk, and high risk based on the risk score, and then decide what your authentication IAM solution can do, whether the IAM solution should allow the access straight away, or you need to push a authentication message to the mobile. So you can have this flexibility and for the administrator to control the risk and the authentication method for each level of risk. Another aspect of the IAM solution is the enrollment, self-service enrollment. I think as I mentioned earlier, that very common for user to lose password and forget password, right? So you do not want the IT to bear the burden to maintain the password. You can actually offer this self-service to the end user. When the end user block his password, he can just go to a self-service portal provided by the IAM solution to unlock his credential, for example. You can see on the screen here. So that can relieve the IT from all the administrative work. And even at the self-service module of this IAM solution, the user can also do a self-enrollment. He can register to himself to enable single multi-factor authentication to the different SaaS application, and then he can enroll the authenticator on his own. So in addition to that multi-factor authentication, I think I mentioned that the high assurance credential-based access is also very important consideration, because it also removes the need to enter extra password through the single sign-on. So the idea of a single sign-on is to allow the user, once he log in successfully into the application, he can actually share this authentication session and credential for other applications that complies with the same standard. So that is SAML or OIDC. That's the industry standard, which I think a lot of cloud applications already support. So for example, you log into Office 365, you can actually also use the same session to log into the Salesforce. Then there's an option to use the digital credential for higher level of security where warranted. So that require a credential to be unloaded into mobile, and then that will require a certificate authority to issue the PKI certificate to the device. And then for Entrust, we are compatible with either Entrust CA or Microsoft CA. So let me go through some of the common use case. So you can see the VPN. That's a very basic requirement. And you can see the customer portal. That's for, let's say, some broker portal or banking portal. You can enable the 2FA or cloud single sign-on. Or for high transaction, you can use that to verify the transaction through this push notification to the end user. Another common use case is the Windows or Mac login. And then you have also some on-prem legacy applications can enable the 2FA through our SDK. Yep. And then this is some of the out-of-the-box integration and typical use case that you can see here. Yeah, AW, you can see all the list of a single sign-on application, and you can see all the third-party devices, which I think you can go to our Entrust website to take a look of, and then you can download integration guide for integration. Okay, let me just go through the passwordless options. I think passwordless, as I mentioned, is very common. I just want to tell you there are 3 different ways to implement passwordless solution. You can have a mobile push authentication where the users are logged in, they will be prompted to confirm a transaction, and then once they confirm, they can log into the protected resource. So that's a very common use in the mobile banking scenario or in the some enterprise application. Another authentication method is a FIDO authentication, where the user needs to have a FIDO device, a FIDO key, for example, the USB key. So you need to hold this key that contains the credential. So once it prompts for the second factor, the whole IAM solution will look for this token you have to authenticate the user. The third method is the credential-based authentication, where the mobile serves as a virtual smart card. So it can basically there's no need to enter the username or password, because the credential itself has the user information that's sent to the PC, and then the PC will validate the certificate in the mobile to check that this certificate is valid, and before I can run the system into the system. So Entrust IAM solution supports all these different use case of passwordless. So the highest assurance authentication will be the credential-based authentication, because if it's on PKI, you can actually expand to email encryption or document signing. So this is the step. For example, you have a digital credential on the mobile. So you download the application. It can be an Entrust off-the-shelf app, or it can be your own app. And then you leverage on Microsoft or Entrust PKI to provision the cert into the mobile. And then what the user does is to do a pairing of the device to the PC that he usually log in. And then once the user has logged in to the Windows or Mac, he can actually access the other cloud-based application through a single sign-on. So the benefit is that simple deployment. You can think that the user do not really need to have password anymore. The user just need to have a mobile. And probably I can show you what the whole workflow looks like. Let me play this video. So this gentleman, he had to provision the digital credential on his mobile. So once he has a provision that activated, he will select the pin to protect the device, and then he can just go to the PC where he has already paired up his mobile credential, and then he will, once he's near the PC, the Bluetooth connection will automatically log in to connect to the PC, and he will be prompted the pin to log into the system. So once he log into the desktop, he can actually log into to other SaaS applications. So once he walk away, the system will be automatically logged out. I think there's the video is probably has some problem. I guess I will probably after that will show you all the link where you all can actually access. Yeah, so this is the use case of this passwordless. I think we have actually worked with in UK. There's a national health science. National health science has more than 200 hospitals, 150,000 doctors, and 320,000 nurses. So during the pandemic, the staff are in full PPE suit. They cannot access their mobile to log in. So what they have chosen is to use the passwordless solution from Entrust. So the user mobile phone will have a virtual smart card capability. So what the user does is to enroll into the system through the NHA, the registration authority. So you receive a secure email to download the application to the mobile. The user will set the PIN, and then you will complete the activation of the virtual smart card. Then the user pairs the mobile device with the computer via Bluetooth. So it can also be a multiple PC workstation as well. So the next stage is to transact. When he want to access the PC, he does enter the PIN on the computer, because the mobile will be in his pocket in this case. So he had to enter the PIN on the computer instead of the mobile. And then he has securely access the healthcare system. So to maintain trust, he will always make sure that the certificate is valid through the certificate life cycle management. So I think for more information, you can just look at the NHS website for the whole more information and workflow. So identity solution actually has many other use case. It can span from some FedEx, like logistic company frontline workers, where they deliver all the dispatch stuff to the end user, or it can be as in the cleaning or healthcare environment, and it can be an enterprise environment like the PostNord as well. So the use case is pretty wide, and I think what I'd like to share as conclusion is that I think if you want to go for unified IAM strategy to the cloud, because it's simple to deploy. Take your workforce to the passwordless, employ adaptive risk-based authentication with policy engine. I think that is a very important feature of the IAM solution. And you have to enable single sign-on to reduce the friction of the user experience, and make the most use of the mobile, and consider the credential-based authentication, so that you can actually expand the use case to encryption and document signing. Okay, before I end, probably I'd like to share with you how easy it is to set up identity as a service through this video.
Getting started with identity as a service. This wizard provides a guided approach to setting up your IDaaS instance. If you prefer to skip this step, you can click Don't Show Again, and the wizard will be removed from your dashboard permanently. The first question is about the type of resources to be protected. In this example, this is a VPN service and Salesforce. Additional applications can always be added. This simply provides a starting point. The next question is, where are your users coming from? In our example, we will start by importing all of our corporate Active Directory users. To automate onboarding of the users, you can select the preferred second factor authenticators. The users will be asked to register them during their first login. In this case, our users will have an Entrust soft token and a grid card assigned. Once logged in, the steps to complete the configuration of your IDaaS instance will be presented. These items are based on the decisions made during the wizard and will serve as a reminder of the steps to complete. If you wish to restart the wizard, you can with the restart option. Each item will have a link to the section of the administration portal where that component must be set up. In this example, a gateway must be registered. The users must be synchronized with the directory, applications must be created, and the resource rules defined. And then users will be ready to authenticate and test the configuration. Please see our library of support content or contact our world-class support team any time of the day, no matter where you are, for more immediate assistance.
Yeah, so I think you can see that in order to set up, it's a matter like of a few steps approach, right? So there's a 30 days there's trial that is actually available. So if any of you has interest, you just let Netrust know, and we can actually arrange a 30-day free trial registration for you. So with that, yeah, thank you for your time. I will pass the time over.
All right. Thank you so much, Lawrence, for that insightful presentation. That's very excellent. Likewise to Edwin, by the way, for introducing Netrust. Anyway, it was indeed very informative, and I hope that our audience have gained valuable insights, such as best practices for identity security and passwordless authentication with enhanced SSO, just to name a few. All right. So for those interested in the free trial, we will be sharing with you the link. So, yes, you will get a chance to see how the platform can benefit your day to day business requirements. And I will send you the link via chat for everyone's benefit. And again, that's just a small gesture from us. I thank you for joining us today. All right. So I mentioned, by the way, earlier that we have poll questions for you to answer. So the first 10 attendees to answer all the questions will receive a $5 voucher from GrabFood. All right, so the winners will be contacted via email. And I will now launch the first poll question. All right, so first is, how many passwords or login do you need to remember at your workplace? All right, so 15 seconds. Now we'll let you know if we are going to end a poll. All right, I can see a few answers coming in. All right, 67%. Okay, 47 have voted. Okay, come on, guys, keep voting. All right, and that's it. Thank you for, and question number 2. All right, so there you go. Would you be interested in starting or to start a 30-day free trial of IDaaS? Okay, so we're also asking this question so we will know who to prioritize and who to accommodate accordingly for the trial, which of course includes a brief onboarding and other technicalities before starting with the trial. All right, so 20 seconds is over. Okay, we'll end the poll now, and we've got the winners here, and we will be announcing the winners for the voucher via email. So yeah, we will send you an update afterwards. Again, thank you so much for answering the poll. Appreciate your participation. And now it's time for the Q&A. So thank you again for submitting your questions. It really shows that today's topic is relevant to your roles and needs. And please note that we have vetted the questions. And for those who just recently joined, please submit your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll queue them if we have adequate time. And if we don't get to your questions today, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. All right, so we will now take some questions. Okay, so question number 1 here it reads, what deployment methods do we offer to our identity portfolio? Lawrence and Edwin, can you please take over for that question?
Yeah, I'll take this question. Yeah. Actually, it depends on the company requirement. If it's the number of employees, first is the number of employees involved, and then is it cloud or on-prem? So if it's cloud-based, I think you can just put in directly to the 30-day trial. I think quite fast. But if it's on-prem, you have 2 options, whether you want to have a virtual appliance for, let's say, if you have workforce of 20,000 people or less, you can actually consider virtual appliance is already built in with database and the application. If you want to have a higher performance and scalability, then you can consider a server-based, on Windows or on Linux platform. So to have a wide range of options, for for you to choose from.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for addressing that question, Lawrence. And now let's move forward to question number 2. So, what is the passwordless solution that offers higher assurance and higher productivity? Gentlemen, please.
Yeah, I think if you want a higher assurance, definitely is the credential-based authentication that I share in the slide, because even that passport in the one that government issue is based on PKI credential, and email signing is also based on PKI credential. So you can see that it's very recognized and is legally binding. So you want to have a high assurance level and frictionless. I think credential-based authentication will be the best approach.
All right. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Now let's go to the third question. Which third-party certificate authorities will our credential-based solution also work with? Gentlemen, please.
Yeah, I think the Microsoft CA I think is very commonly used. So that is the CA that we support. Entrust also has our own CA. It can be a managed CA, or it can be on-prem CA. So we have a very open integration capability, to support any other third-party CA when there's a need as well. So if you have already has something to issue a cert, like your existing CA, you can also consider to have a sub CA to issue this certificate to reduce the risk as part of the best practice. So basically, I think it depends on your CA hierarchy and framework as well. So we are open for discussion if you are interested.
All right. So you've heard it right. So Lawrence mentioned that if you're open to this to any discussion, you can just approach us. Anyway, let's move to the next question. So, what OS, in addition to Windows, does the solution work with? Lawrence?
Yeah, so I think the beauty of our solution that we are agnostic to the operating system. So we can do a login through of Windows through using multi-factor authentication. You can actually work on Linux. You can also work on a Mac. So that allows the enterprise to have a single solution, but compatible with a different type of workstation operating system.
All right. Thank you again, Lawrence. And okay, since it looks like we don't have much time here, we'll just go with one more question. Okay, so it reads, what are the extended benefits of the credential-based solution?
Yeah, I think you can see from the video. Hopefully, you can capture. Yeah, I know that it's a jittery. Yeah, one is the do away with the password. You can actually use the credential-based authentication that's based on the PKI cert and then you can use a Bluetooth proximity connection to automatically log into the system. It does need to pair with the computer. Yeah, so that every time you go near to it, you can just need to enter the PIN, and the PIN is not a so-called hosted in the website, but it's hosted on the local device. So there is no risk of so-called the data breach. Yeah, so I think that offers that extra benefits. Yeah, in terms of user experience as well as high assurance and the use case.
All right, perfect. Thank you again, Lawrence, for addressing the questions. Anyway, we still have an influx of questions here, but we promised today that the session will only run for an hour. So I think we believe we can wrap up the Q&A here. And that's all for now. All right. So for those questions that we didn't cover, don't worry. We will send it to Edwin and Lawrence so that they can get back to you in some of our content pieces or through email. All right. So that's a wrap. Thank you, Lawrence and Edwin, for running the discussions. I trust that our audience can walk away with insights that you have shared with them. Now, if you have any concerns or would like to arrange a one on one discussion or a consultation, you may visit our website or you may contact Edwin. His details are on the screen, or you may scan the QR code, which will direct you to our customer inquiry form. All right, so to our audience, thank you again for your time and for your support in our webinars. As you may know, it's going to continue this way until the foreseeable future. And please note that you will receive the webinar recording through your email along with the presentation slide from today's sessions. All right, so again, the winners of the Grab Food voucher will be contacted via email as well. All right, congratulations in advance and thank you. This concludes today's live event. I wish you all a lovely day. Bye.